In Wemmbu's latest video, he killed the invisible assassin, or at least that's what we all thought, because when Wemmbu turned around, he saw that the player that he just killed was somehow still alive. You see, everyone thinks there's one invisible player hunting Wemmbu and Airokun on the Unstable SMP, but what if I told you that something else is going on here? This is the truth about Unstable SMP's invisible player, and it's not what you think. Let me start with the evidence that immediately proves this isn't one person, because once you see this, you can't unsee it. In Wembu's latest video, he fought the invisible player in a final confrontation and landed 12 consecutive hits, killing them completely. The fight was over, Wemmbu won. But then a player with the exact same armor trims appeared right after the death, proving the one Wemmbu killed was just a duplicate. Now here's the question nobody's asking: how do you have a duplicate of yourself with identical armor trims unless there are multiple people coordinating this entire operation? Keep that duplicate appearance in mind, because it's the key to understanding everything. But the duplicate isn't even the strongest evidence for multiple people. The invisible player's fighting style changed completely from encounter to encounter, and I mean fundamentally different combat approaches. In the first attack, they used the railgun to instantly pop Wembu's totem, followed by aggressive maze combat and quick stasis escapes with explosive traps. That's a redstone focused aggressive fighter. In the second encounter, they hide an entire mercenary group led by Dizzy U and use crossbow minecarts for tactical trapping. That's a strategic coordinator who uses resources and planning. In the third encounter, they build a flying machine prison with a mining fatigue device to capture Wemmbu. That's an advanced redstone expert who builds complex contraptions. In the final fight, they focused purely on PvP combat, with a Riptide Trident, and it conveniently started raining during the fight. That's a Riptide specialist who times weather patterns. Think about what that means. One player doesn't switch between 4 completely different combat specializations. They develop one style and master it. But if you have 4 different people sharing one identity, each person brings their specialty to different encounters. The redstone expert handles the railgun and flying machine. The tactical coordinator handles hiring mercenaries and planning ambushes. The Riptide specialist handles the rain-based PvP combat, and they all wear the same exact armor trims, so Wemmbu thinks he's fighting one person when he's actually fighting a coordinated assassination team. Remember this pattern of specialization because it explains every inconsistency in the invisible player's behavior. Now let's talk about the specific evidence from each encounter, because the details reveal who's actually involved. The first attack featured a railgun that instantly popped totems, aggressive maze bombardment, and stasis chamber escapes. Building a railgun requires advanced redstone knowledge. Most players can't do this. The player who comes to mind immediately is Airokun, who has both redstone skill and the ability to build railgun technology. The first encounter was probably Airokun setting the aggressive tone and showing Wemmbu they had superior technology. The second encounter was completely different. Instead of direct combat, the invisible player hired Dizzy U entire mercenary group and paid them in diamond blocks to kill both Wemmbu and Airokun. Then when Wemmbu interrogated Dizzy U, the invisible player appeared with crossbow minecarts and trapped them. This is tactical warfare, using resources and other players as weapons instead of fighting directly. This doesn't match Aerokun's redstone focus style. This matches someone who thinks strategically about using the server's economy and player relationships. Keep this tactical approach in mind because it reveals a different person handling this encounter. But before we continue, I want to ask you to subscribe. These theory videos take hours to analyze fight patterns and piece together identities, and subscribing would generally help a ton. Also, let me know in the comments who you think is part of this coordinated team. The third encounter is where things get genuinely disturbing. The invisible players somehow knew Wemmbu would land at a specific village to buy gear. They predicted his exact location. When Wemmbu landed, a contraption activated beneath him, launching him into cobwebs and ancient debris. It was a flying machine prison that started moving while giving him mining fatigue. This is next level redstone engineering, building a mobile prison with mining fatigue mechanics that activates on command. This screams advanced redstone expert again, possibly Arrow returning, but the prediction of Wembu's location suggests someone was tracking him or multiple people were covering different villages. The invisible player even revealed they were gonna ban Wembu but decided against it because his enemies are willing to pay more to keep him alive. The final fight is where the identity becomes clearest. The invisible player focused purely on PvP combat, with a Riptide Trident kept in the offhand throughout the fight. And here's the critical detail: it started raining during the battle, which makes Riptide Trident significantly more effective for aerial mace attacks. There's one player on Unstable SMP known specifically for Riptide Trident combat in the rain, and that's Jaden Man. Jaden uses the mace plus Riptide combo constantly. His battles almost always involve rain timing. This is his signature fighting style. The final encounter was probably Jaden handling the pure PvP combat because that's his specialty, while Arrow handled the redstone encounters and someone else handled the tactical planning. Here's where the theory becomes undeniable. The invisible player uses a voice changer, which everyone assumes is to hide one person's identity. But what if the voice changer is actually hiding that it's different voices? What if they're using it so Wembu doesn't notice that sometimes it's Arrow speaking, sometimes it's Jaden speaking, sometimes it's the tactical coordinator speaking? The voice changer creates consistency where there isn't any. It makes multiple people sound like one person. Let's talk about the resources and capabilities because this proves multiple people are involved. The invisible player has a railgun, multiple stasis chambers, a flying machine prison, mining fatigue devices, crossbow minecarts, enough diamond blocks to hire entire mercenary groups, and the ability to predict Wembu's movements. One player doesn't have all those resources and all that knowledge and all those capabilities. But if you have 3 players pulling resources, suddenly it makes perfect sense. Arrow contributes redstone expertise and contraptions. Jaden contributes combat skill and Riptide specialization. The third person contributes tactical planning and resources for hiring mercenaries. Together, they become an unstoppable force that appears to be one mysterious invisible player. Now we need to address the most important question that reveals why this is happening. Why is Airokun the primary target? The invisible player specifically said Egg needs to die for personal reasons. They demanded Aerokun's life, not Wembu. They're willing to let Wembu live if it means killing Egg. Here's another piece of evidence that supports the multiple people theory. The invisible player somehow knew Wembu would land at that specific village to buy gear. They had a flying machine prison ready and waiting. One person can't cover every possible village Wembu might visit, but if you have multiple people positioned at different locations, suddenly you can track someone's movements and predict where they'll go. The coordination required to pull off that ambush suggests at least 2 people working together, one tracking Wembu's flight path and one activating the trap when he landed. Let's piece together who's actually in this team based on all the evidence. Person 1 is Arrow, the redstone expert who built the railgun and flying machine prison, who handles all the complex contraptions and technical attacks. Person 2 is Jaden Man, the Riptide specialist who handles pure PvP combat and times range patterns, who shows up for the final fights. Person 3 is unknown but handles tactical coordination, hiring mercenaries, managing resources, and planning ambushes. There might even be a 4th person helping with tracking and surveillance. They all agreed on matching armor trims to maintain the illusion of one player. They use a voice changer to hide that it's different voices, and they coordinate their attacks so Wembu thinks he's fighting one mysterious invisible player when he's actually fighting an assassination team. The duplicate that appeared after Wembu killed the first one isn't a duplicate at all, it's just another team member with the same armor trim stepping in immediately. That's why they weren't intimidated when Wembu killed one of them, because killing one member doesn't stop the team. They can just send the next specialist depending on what the situation requires. Need redstone expertise? Send Arrow. Need PvP combat? Send Jaden. Need tactical planning? Send the coordinator. Need a milker? Send me. The invisible player is a rotating position filled by whoever has the right skills for that specific encounter. Here's the evidence that completely proves this theory. The invisible player revealed that Wembu's enemies are willing to pay to keep him alive rather than have him banned. The invisible player isn't one assassin, it's an assassination service run by multiple specialists who take contracts. Someone paid them to kill Airokun for personal reasons. Other enemies paid them to capture Wembu alive. The team coordinates these contracts by sending the right specialists for each job, making them appear to be one unstoppable invisible player when they are actually a coordinated group. This explains everything that didn't make sense before. Why the fighting style changed completely between encounters, because different people have different styles. Why they have every possible skill set from redstone to PvP to tactical planning, because each team member brings their specialty. Why a duplicate appeared with identical armor trims, because it's not a duplicate, it's a team member. Why they use a voice changer to hide multiple voices. Why they can predict Wembu's movements, because multiple people can cover more ground. Why they are not intimidated by one death, because the team keeps operating. The truth about Unstable SMP's invisible player is that there is no invisible player. It's a lie, a coordinated deception maintained by at least 3 people pretending to be one. Arrow brings the redstone expertise, Jaden brings the riptide combat specialization, an unknown third person brings the tactical coordination and resources. They wear matching armor trims, use a voice changer to sound consistent, and rotate who handles each encounter based on what skills are needed. Wemmbu isn't fighting one person, he's fighting an assassination team that's been hired to kill Airokun for revenge and capture Wemmbu for profit. And the scariest part is that killing one of them doesn't stop the operation. It just means the next specialist steps in wearing the same armor and continuing the mission. If you enjoyed this theory, make sure to subscribe because this is my second channel. And if you want to see more Unstable SMP mysteries solved, check out the video on screen.